Good morning, everyone. Looks like we're filling up here. We're going to start in a few seconds. Okay, I think we have all the attendees for this event. Good morning, everyone. My name is Stancy Saji, and I'm the Service Coordinator for Congresswoman Grace Meng's office. On behalf of Congresswoman Grace Meng and Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's offices, we'd like to welcome you all to our first ever Virtual Service Academy Forum. We all realize that these are difficult and trying times, especially for our students. So we'd like to thank you all for taking this first step in learning more about the nomination process and your desired service academies in light of COVID-19. So I'm just going to quickly go through our agenda for this morning and we will kick it off. So we're going to start with brief remarks from both Congresswomen, and then we'll have a Q&A session with both Congresswomen. After that, we'll have a brief overview from all of our panelists, our 5 Service Academy reps, and New York, our Air Force ROTC, followed by a Q&A session with the panelists and the students. And after that, we'll wrap up the event. Before we officially start the program, I want to let you all know that we're using the Zoom webinar platform today, and there's a Q&A feature next to the participants tab at the bottom. So when it's time for the 2 Q&A sessions, please enter all of your questions in that Q&A tab to be selected by staff to be answered by either the Congresswoman or the Service Academy panelists and Air Force ROTC. With that, we're going to transition to the brief remarks from our 2 Congress members today. Rep Ocasio-Cortez, if you can introduce Rep Meng so that we can start the introductions.
Absolutely, thank you so much. And welcome everybody. We're really excited to have you today. And, as was mentioned, this is just such an extraordinary time for each and every one of you, for our country, and for the world. And even in all of this kind of uncertainty that a lot of you all are facing, one of the best things that I think we can do is give you information, answer any and all of your questions, and make sure that you all have everything you need at your fingertips to make the best decisions for yourselves. And we're really excited to be presenting all of this information to you regarding entry to our military service academies. We're also very, very thankful, and I'm very thankful to Congresswoman Grace Meng for including us in this conversation. This is our second time that we've hosted this event together, but she has been leading the way in hosting these events for quite some time. So she's done such incredible work in making sure that you all have this information and that you're able to really access all the opportunities available to you through our wonderful military service academy. So with that, I'll hand it off to Congresswoman Meng.
Thank you to my dear friend and colleague, Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez, for your partnership. And I want to thank your team for their tremendous efforts as well. And thanks to my staff, Stancy and John, for your efforts. I know that our teams have worked very hard and very closely together in the last few weeks and months on this. I want to echo my colleagues' comments on I know it's a really tough time for everyone. People are facing a lot of uncertainties. Even locally, we've been getting lots of inquiries because many people in Queens don't have power or the trees are blocking their streets. So always feel free to reach out to us if we can be helpful. And I also want to mention something that our Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez's team have worked very hard on as well, getting the word out about the census. I know it's unrelated directly to today's event, but since we have you all, captivating audience right here on Zoom, we wanted to remind everyone as well. So thank you all for participating Thank you to our representatives from the Naval Academy, West Point, Air Force Academy, Coast Guard, and Merchant Marine Academy. Thank you for your service to our country and your commitment to our students and helping to groom and to train our next generation of leaders. Very impressive young people here on the Zoom call today. So turn it back to all of you. Thank you all for joining.
Thank you, Congresswoman. We're going to transition to the Q&A portion of the program. I would encourage all the attendees to use the chat box to ask the Congresswoman any questions about what it's like to do their jobs. We're going to focus the questions on the day in the life of being a congressional member. And we'll save the Service Academy questions as well as the application questions for the second portion of our program today. So if you have any questions of the Congresswoman, please use the chat box and we will ask them of the Congresswoman. We're just holding for some questions. I mean, the Q&A feature, sorry. So students, if you have any burning questions for our Congresswoman, please use the Q&A feature on the Zoom. So the first question we have for the Congresswomen, are representatives based in their home districts or in DC regularly?
I can start by answering. We are based in our home districts. Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez and I both represent parts of the borough of Queens. She actually has a tougher job. She has 2 boroughs. My district is completely in Queens. We are based here. We travel back to Washington, D.C. when we have votes, committee meetings. We have still been doing that when possible, even during the coronavirus. And we're actually more fortunate than a lot of our colleagues because they have to travel really far. People who might be on the West Coast or people who have to take multiple flights to get there, or you know, live in an area that is maybe a couple hours away from their closest airport. So, you know, everyone has a different sort of commute. But yes, we do go back and forth from our home districts here in New York.
Yeah, definitely. We're based in New York, but I think to give you guys a little bit more detail on the schedule, when Congress is in session, which is most months out of the year, usually votes are around 3 days a week, or rather 4 days a week. And so you will be in DC voting and doing committee work 4 days a week, and then we go back to our district 3 days a week, and then there's 1 week out of the month that's all in district. But that kind of changes a little bit, and especially during COVID-19, we've been able to spend a lot more time in district, which I know has been kind of a blessing to Congresswoman Meng and myself, especially since our families are in the community and everything. But it's a lot of travel. But again, like she said, we're pretty blessed in that New York is a lot closer to DC than a lot of other districts and areas in the country.
I have another question. A student asks, what is the best way a person in your position in Congress can help their community?
So what's the best way a person in our position can help our community? Well, I think one of the things that's great about this work is that there's a lot of different ways that we can help. One, in the most top level way, is the work that we do day to day, which is introducing legislation it was Congress that introduced legislation to get everybody stimulus checks, to expand unemployment insurance. Of course, we're working out and we're currently debating on how to extend that. Congresswoman Meg and I are really trying to make sure that we extend those benefits. But it was Congress that did that. Additionally, we have a lot of work that we do on the ground. Congresswoman Meg mentioned, taking calls about power outages, and on our end, we've been doing a lot of fundraising for food banks and a lot of other community organizations that are getting help out directly to the community. So there's kind of this high level work, which doesn't feel as direct in that, your family may get a stimulus check, may not know that it came from Congress and came from legislation that we had drafted. And then there's more direct work that may be a little bit smaller, in that your family received a meal or your family was able to get their power back on. But that's also, even though it's smaller in scale, it's work that's more directly linked to things that our office and our wonderful caseworkers that you're seeing on the call that are helping us accomplish.
Yeah, totally agree. Since we have so many young people on the phone, I want to share a question that I'm often asked, who are your political mentors, right? Well, I am a daughter of immigrants. My parents, my family didn't grow up talking about politics. I didn't know anyone who was elected who looked like me. So I didn't have the traditional political mentors. So I always tell people that it's my grandma. So my grandma gave me and continues to give me the best political advice. And this applies to whatever field you're in. And that's to be a responsive listener. So I think whether you're, working on, like my colleague said, legislation in Washington, D.C., or issues on the ground, it's important to be a good listener, and all of you help us to do that. You weigh in on the issues that matter most to our district and to our what we call constituents, the people that we represent. And to tie into another question, I'm sorry I peeked ahead, but how our jobs were sort of redefined during COVID. Both of our offices have spent a tremendous amount of time, especially in the early days when New York and Queens was hardest hit by COVID, getting, food to folks, getting PPE like masks, because New Yorkers, our constituents, just didn't have enough. And that was a direct result of everyday people in our communities telling us what they needed, and us trying to be responsive to their concerns.
Yeah, definitely. And like a lot of you all have been making these transitions, having to go from the work that we do is very physical and it's very in-person in nature, with community organizing and being out in the community with everybody, having to transition a lot of that to Zoom and virtual work has definitely been kind of a learning process for us, just like it has for a lot of you all. And so the way that shaped our work has been pretty dramatic, in some ways for better, in other ways that are a lot more challenging. And so I think, I think that this is something that we've all had to navigate in some ways that are very similar. And how it's also another question that kind of piggybacks on that we're seeing here is, how has that affected the nomination process? It's also very similar. Our nomination process used to also be, you would send in all your materials, we would bring you in for an in-person interview. That interview is now probably going to happen virtually or over Zoom, like so many of our in-person meetings have been transitioned to. But aside from that, we are still looking for really wonderful, young people and members of our community that have kind of exemplified leadership qualifications, and making sure that you all are really engaged and passionate about giving back.
Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez touched on that briefly, that there was a question from a student to both the Congresswoman about what factors do you look for in a nominee that stand out to you in a candidate? Representative Meng, do you want to start with answer that question?
Oh, I think that's above my pay grade. We have experts with us here today, unless Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez wants to answer.
Yeah, I mean, at least, you know, as Congresswoman Meng mentioned, you're going to hear a lot about some of the factors that that are really kind of sought after in the nomination process. But there's also kind of another half to it where our office personally takes a look at a lot of the applications and nominees and who we recommend to service academies. And I think for us in our office, first of all, we convene members of the community and we kind of have a little nominating council. Many of these are people who served in military, or rather who attended military service academies or otherwise served in our military, that take a look at some of our nominees, and they take a look and they also bring you in for an interview. But I would also say that one of the things that our office also keeps an eye out for are unconventional candidates. And so one message that I would have to every single person on this call is to not count yourself out. Don't count yourself out. Don't say, you know, oh, you know, I can't qualify, or this isn't for me, or I'm not good enough. I cannot tell you how many people are so hard on themselves in the nominating process, and you're actually an excellent candidate. And just, you know, the pressure of this time, college applications and applying for college, I know it's such a pressure cooker and it can really do a number on your self-esteem. Don't let that happen to you. The thing that I always say to people is, listen, you miss every shot that you don't take. so it's really important that you just put your application out there. And if you get it, it's an opportunity that you otherwise would not have gotten if you had talked yourself out of it. And, you know, if it's not your time for that opportunity right now, who cares? There'll be another opportunity out there for you. But what's so important is that you cast your net. You know, if this is something that you're interested in, put your application out there and take it from there.
Thank you so much. So our final question for this segment is, how can you get involved with everything going on with COVID?
Is that youth getting involved in general or during COVID? Sorry, I missed the end of that.
Sure, I think it's in regards to COVID.
So what we've seen in our communities and all of our districts is the beauty of everyday people helping out, you know, sharing resources, checking in on each other. You know, we have constituents as young as, you know, kindergarten age kids who have been making signs and putting them in their windows saying thank you to our essential frontline workers. We have, you know, young people to our senior citizens helping to collect food or to collect donations. There are so many ways that everyday people can help each other during these times. And we saw the best of New York during the really tough months, especially of March and April. We are always happy to share a list of organizations and leaders that we've worked with. So always feel free to let us know as well.
Yeah, and I'd say make sure that you follow a lot of our governmental handles on social media. We often post opportunities or areas of need where you all can volunteer. And sometimes that volunteer work can be virtual. We often do kind of call-in check-ins, or, you know, we will amplify other organizations in the community that need help. So make sure you keep an eye out for some of those opportunities. And there are lots of wonderful food pantry and relief organizations in our district. If a lot of you don't know, our community right here in Queens was the most COVID impacted district in our community in the country at the New York peak. And so, you know, our community really learned how to rally together. And I just really would encourage each and every one of you to keep an eye out on food pantries, on houses of faith, who are also really participating in a lot of these relief efforts, other community organizations, because there is no shortage of help that people can offer and that organizations need.
Thank you so much, Congresswoman. So we'll wrap up our Q&A session with the Congresswoman, and please save your Service Academy questions and application questions for the next segment. And we'll start with Representative Meng for your closing remarks. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Again, thank you to each and every one of you for signing on today. Thank you to my colleague for her leadership and her entire team for their efforts. And again, thank you to all the academies for representing each of your institutions today. We're so excited to be joined by all these young people and their families, and we're really excited to work with you for the long term. So good luck to all of you.
Absolutely, and thank you everyone so much for joining us on this call. Thank you to our representatives from our military service academies. Thank you for coming in and presenting these opportunities to our young people. Thank you for kind of sharing this information. Thank you for your service. And again, to all of our students, thank you for hopping in. Take a listen to what's available to you and make sure that, you know, that you take in all of this information, especially during such a hectic time. It's so important that you all take a look at all the opportunities available to you. Thank you to Congresswoman Meng for inviting us and graciously hosting all of us as well. And we sincerely appreciate everyone on the call. Thanks.
Thank you, Congresswoman. See you soon.
Thank you so much.
So the next portion for all the attendees, we're going to have the Service Academy representatives present. So we'll first start with the Naval Academy. First, we'll have Lieutenant Joyce Kim present on the
Yes,
Naval.
good morning, everyone. Thank you. My name is Lieutenant Joyce Kim, and I am an admissions counselor at the United States Naval Academy. More importantly, I am your admissions counselor at the United States Naval Academy. I'm also a native of New York City, so I am very familiar with the process from applying within our districts, as well as the feeling that all of you guys must be going through the application process. To talk a little bit about the Naval Academy, we're one of the 5 federal service academies located in Annapolis, Maryland. The mission of the Naval Academy is to develop midshipmen mentally, morally, and physically. So mentally, we offer 25 different majors, primarily in the STEM, the science, technology, engineering, and math fields, but we do also offer a few majors in the humanities as well. We have a small classroom size ranging anywhere from about 10 to 25 students, as well as having an 8-to-1 student to faculty ratio, meaning that all the students will get it is ensured that all the students will get the attention and any assistance that they need from the professors, and the help is available to make sure that all the students succeed academically at the Naval Academy. And it's one of the reasons that helps us become nationally ranked as being as the #1 public college within the nation. Now, physically, we offer 33 NCAA D1 sports, meaning we are a D1 college, but we also do offer club sports as well as intramural sports. All of our midshipmen are required to take the physical readiness test. It's a physical test, which comprises of a 1.5-mile run, push-ups, and planks in order to ensure that we keep up with our physical fitness. And then last but not least, morally, the Naval Academy is committed to developing our midshipmen morally. Character development is imbued in every aspect of our student life. Mutual respect, personal integrity, and moral courage are all values that bind us all together. Now, as I mentioned, I'm a Naval Academy graduate, 2014. I'm also from New York City, so I have a very unique perspective on the admissions process, starting off as a high school student and then applying, going through the academy, now serving as an admissions counselor. So if you do have any questions, please feel free to ask those questions. I'm also accompanied by our area coordinator for New York City, Mr. Scott Dinkel, and we'll be here to answer any questions that you may have afterwards. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much, Lieutenant Kim. Yes, we're going to have a Q&A portion for each of the Service Academy reps after all the various reps present. So next we'll have from West Point Academy, Colonel Al LaHood.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Colonel LaHood. I am part of the West Point Field Force. I help students throughout their application process, and I stand ready to do that if you reach out to me. The West Point experience, like the Naval Academy, is a 4-year experience. It's a D1 school. It is primarily an engineering school, STEM, though there are some humanities as well. But primarily, well, every student will go through an engineering sequence. So calculus is important, and you should ensure that you take calculus and trigonometry while you're in high school so that you have those skills once you arrive. West Point is an experience. It's going to challenge you mentally, physically, and it's going to push you to the limits, and you have to want it. You can't, you have to want to serve as an Army officer. The friendships and the bonds that you will make at the academy will last you a lifetime. But you're going to be challenged. And so with that, you have to be physically fit. And the physical fitness is what excludes many of the applicants. But you all have time. You're going into your junior year, and you have to be fit. So the cadet fitness assessment is really the thing that you have to focus on. And so I'm going to put a link in the chat, and that link is to the CFA, the Cadet Fitness Assessment, or Candidate Fitness Assessment. West Point requires that you, the student, video the pull-ups or flexed arm hang and the push-ups, and then the student uploads that. The people that can administer the CFA are your physical fitness instructor, someone like me in the field force, a junior ROTC instructor, an officer or a non-commissioned officer who is currently serving, not retired. And so those are the folks that can go ahead and administer that. When students look at the CFA, they say, oh, that's not hard. But when you string all the events together, it becomes a significant emotional event. And so you need to prepare for that. Within that link, there are videos of all the events and the proper execution of those events. So with that, that's what I'm going to leave you with. It's a physically fit academy, and you're going to be challenged mentally and physically. So you need to be prepared. Thank you.
Great, now we're going to, sorry, I believe I'm having some audio.
All right, good morning, everyone. I'm Second Lieutenant Scott Huda. I'm an admissions advisor for the United States Air Force Academy, working here in Burlington, New Jersey.
And I'm Second Lieutenant George Brown. I'm located in Syracuse. We're admissions advisors that cover New York. So just to give you guys a snapshot of the last 4 years, Lieutenant Huda and I were extremely extremely fortunate enough to come across once in a lifetime opportunities, such as finding out if we want to fly by flying supersonic trainer jet. I myself walked onto the track team, and as well as me and lifelong friends, we had a few opportunities for leadership, such as leading a squadron during basic and the academic year, and as well as traveling across Colorado. But really what separates us from the Air Force Academy, what separates us from the other service academies and colleges is not only do we offer the chance to go to a university, we are ranked number 3 in public colleges, top 10 in numerous engineering groups, and number 39 in liberal arts studies, but we're the first accredited university that offers a bachelor's of science in space warfighting. We're also the premier academy to commission into the Space Force, as more than 70 of my classmates we're the first group of officers to do so. So if you're looking to go that route, the Air Force Academy is definitely the way to go.
Something that the Air Force Academy offers that none of the other service academies can say that they do is our airmanship programs. So you get the opportunity to fly a glider without an engine, a plane with an engine, as well as jump out of a plane that is perfectly good, and your first time is solo rather than tandem.
And also, we have a very diverse and expansive athletic program. We have many different D1 teams, clubs, and sports. They all range in different successes, such as conference championships and academic All-Americans. It's really important to know that we do have the highest number of women's D1 sports teams in the nation with 10. So we're always pushing the envelope to be inclusive and diverse as possible. And this kind of fits in with the vision of the Air Force Academy as well. But so here are some of the career opportunities that you can pursue after graduating. I'm going to be a pilot after this year. So if you do want to go to pilot, the academy it should be at the top of your list in interest because we had 500 pilot slots last year. The jobs on the left occur a commitment longer than 5 years, and this is due to the time and resources that the Air Force puts into you. Additionally, around 10% of the graduating class, they go on to go to grad school, and that may be doctors, dentists, or lawyers, or they might go into other career fields. But if you do want to do something a little bit more slower pace, you can see that we have the jobs in the middle, and Lieutenant Huda will be able to speak on that.
So the jobs in the middle here are at the 5-year commitment line. And so for myself, I'm going to be an aircraft maintenance officer, so just making sure that jets are getting up in the air and completing the mission. As well, we have the jobs on the right, which require a specific degree or background. So a civil engineer, you don't want someone that's a civil engineer that doesn't have a civil engineering degree. And so those jobs do require certain degrees or backgrounds.
So if you're going to get anything from this brief, please pay attention to this slide. To get started on your application, go to academyadmissions.com, and this really starts your pre-candidate questionnaire. This opens up March of your junior year. If you're not a junior yet, we have the Falcon Foundation program that opens up grades 6 through 11, and that will help you get working on your application and make it as strong as possible. So again, make sure you go to academyadmissions.com and go ahead and follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook as well.
Thank you guys so much for your time today. Here's our contact information if you have any further questions.
Great, thank you so much, Lieutenant Brown and Lieutenant Huda. Next we have Lieutenant Junior Grade Emily Torsney from the Coast Guard.
There's more big here.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Lieutenant Junior Grade Emily Torsney. I am the Northeast Admissions Officer here at the Coast Guard Academy in New London, Connecticut. So I cover Maine all the way down to New York. So I'm your admissions officer. I am actually not an academy grad. I went to officer candidate school, and after receiving my bachelor's at the University of Vermont, I joined the Coast Guard commissioned in November of 2018. I am an operations afloat career specialty, and I was assigned to a 225-foot buoy tender in which I was a deck watch officer for the past, for my first tour, and now I am here at the academy. So the Coast Guard's focus is on a humanitarian mission, primarily to ensure our nation's maritime safety, security, and stewardship. We serve under the Department of Homeland Security, which makes us different from the other armed services, and we have 11 statutory missions that we cover, primarily in maritime safety, maritime security, mobility, environmental protection, and national defense. And here's some listed here. So the U.S. Coast Guard Academy at a glance, we too, like the other service academies, focus primarily on STEM majors. And when applying to the academy, something that makes a competitive applicant is those who take chemistry, physics, and calculus. Those are kind of our 3 target courses for the academy. We are a smaller service academy. We have about a little over 1,000 students enrolled. We cover all 50 states and 20 nations, and we have 80% varsity high school athletics. We do not require a congressional nomination, which makes us different from the other service academies as well. And like I said, our focus is primarily on humanitarian missions. We do have opportunities following graduation as you're in the fleet. And we have an 85% graduate retention rate after your 5-year service commitment. So we have high job satisfaction as well as post-grad opportunities. Application requirements, it's 100% online. We require 4 letters of recommendation. Official high school transcripts, SAT and ACT scores. We also have a physical fitness evaluation as well as personal statements. If you have any questions, please contact me. I have my email address and my phone number here, and I encourage everyone to go online to www.uscga.edu and go and create a Bears Den account. That will ensure that you receive the literature that you need to hear more about the academy and opportunities that we have available. We are hoping to have campus programs virtually starting next month, and then we will be evaluating in-person events in the next couple months. But definitely that Bears Den account is going to be the #1 way for you to start your admissions process or inquiry process for the Coast Guard Academy.
Thank you so much, Lieutenant Junior Grade Emily Torsney. Next, we'll have the Lieutenant Ryan McCann from the U.S. Merchant Marine present. Oh, you're muted.
I clicked the wrong one. Good morning, everyone. I'm Lieutenant McCann here at the United States Merchant Marine Academy. I'm one of the admissions officers. We're located here actually in Kings Point, just down the block from Queens. I was actually born and raised in Queens myself, so good to see all of the faces here. We are one of the 5 federal service academies. We are one of the smaller ones. We try to fill a class of a highly diverse and quality candidates and midshipmen, about 285 per year. And this is going to mean a lot for what it means at the academy in terms of succeeding together as a class, but also failing together as a class. Like Lieutenant Colonel Lahoud, sorry if I messed up that name, there's a lot of external stressors at the academy. And one of the biggest differentiators that we offer here at the United States Merchant Marine Academy is the flexibility of your service obligations and career options. You're not pigeonholed to commission in the Merchant Marines or Coast Guard. This is up to you. You have a flexibility to fulfill your service obligation by going active duty, either in the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine Corps, and Coast Guard, or you can also decide to work in the maritime industry in the private sector for 5 years. So that option's up to you. And in terms of our academics, we are STEM focused just like any other academy, but we're hyper-focused. We only have 5 majors, pretty much split in between 2 academic departments. And each of these 5 majors have a strong engineering curriculum type of sequence. And in terms of what to expect of the academy, with regimental life, you guys run the show when you are midshipmen. We kind of pass off that leadership to you so you guys can fulfill that. And one of the other biggest highlights of our academy is what we call Sea Year. Sea Year, also your sea duty, is a hallmark of the academy's academic program and is performed on U.S. flagged merchant vessels and naval vessels and is split between your sophomore and junior year. You'll be out at sea for approximately 300 days. The first time you go out, During sophomore year, we'll place you on a vessel, U.S. flag vessel, for a little over 100 days. You'll come back to campus, do a deeper dive into your curriculum, and then we're going to send you back out to sea for about 200 days. And this is really important because when you do graduate from the academy, you're not going to just receive a bachelor's of science and a commission. You're also going to have a U.S. Coast Guard license, either an engine license or a deck license, depending on your major. And that's really all I have for you. And if you have any questions, I'm going to put something in a chat box real quick for everyone, and don't hesitate to reach out.
Thank you so much, Lieutenant McCann. Next, we'll hear from the Air Force ROTC. We have Lieutenant Stevenson Dang here with us, as well as Lieutenant Evelyn Soon. We'll start with Lieutenant Dang.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. So I'm Lieutenant Dang, and I'll briefly go over Air Force ROTC. So Air Force ROTC is essentially another commissioning source similar to the service academies, except the biggest difference is that you'll go to a college of your choice. So whether it be like Cornell University, Syracuse, et cetera, we have over 1,400 schools nationwide. And you are also able to major in anything you want, such as business, economics, engineering, et cetera. And we do have scholarships available to pay for your tuitions in full. If you look at the slide, so our primary focus is building you into a leader while also giving you that college life. So you can still work part-time, join school clubs, take regular school classes that you normally would if you were to attend college full-time. You just have a set ROTC time while you're in college. With that being said, we do still care about your academics, physical fitness, and leadership. So it's really up to you to time manage that while you're taking your regular college courses. So if you're considering a service academy, I definitely recommend you check out Air Force ROTC as well, just to have more options available to you, just in case something doesn't work out, or just, in general, because at the end of the day, we're all a commissioning source. You're going to be a second lieutenant in the Air Force at the end of the day if you go through this or the Air Force Academy. So if you're a current senior, in high school, the biggest thing I recommend is apply for their Air Force ROTC scholarship. It won't commit you to the program, but it will give you a second option if you do get awarded the scholarship. So more information can be found on our website at afrotc.com. The application kind of overlaps with a lot of information that the Academy requires. So you'll kind of be knocking down 2 applications in one. And I'll have Lieutenant Soon kind of talk about her experience as well and just go over some more information that I might have missed out on.
Hi everyone, I'm Lieutenant Soon. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about myself and my experience just to give you a quick snapshot of what ROTC is like for one individual. So I'm from Northern Virginia. I went to school in Boston. I commissioned out of Boston University, but I actually attended Northeastern University, which is about a mile south of Boston University. So I was a crosstown. So that means that ROTC, even though on our website it says that we're only hosted at 120 universities, we're actually offered at over 1,200 universities, which is amazing. At Northeastern, I studied chemical engineering, and I got my master's in engineering management, all thanks to the Air Force. Through one of these scholarships, I was able to fund my education. Also, thanks to the Air Force, I was able to have a lot of unique and amazing opportunities, like studying abroad in China. They sent me to China twice, where I studied Mandarin Chinese for 2 summers in a row, and I got 2 years of credits for that, which is also incredible. There's also a ton of leadership conferences all across the US, which was also funded by the program, and I got to go travel all over and network with cadets from all over the nation, which is pretty amazing. But that's just some of my experiences. On this next slide, I'll pull up all the other different opportunities you can have in the Air Force. But this is another way to have a very normal college experience with these unique extra sprinkles of activities, and also end up a lieutenant in the Air Force, just like any of the other service academies.
Great, thank you so much. Again, this is Stancy from Congressman Meng's office. I was having some connectivity issues, so I thank my colleague Mabel for taking the lead here. For our next segment, we're going to transition into a Q&A with the panelists and the students, and we're going to select some of the questions that you all have put in the Q&A box. And the first question is, This is for all the panelists. Has the coronavirus affected the nomination process?
We can
Sally
have,
discussion.
sorry. If we can have all the panelists come on. The question we have standing is, has the coronavirus affected the nomination process?
So for the Air Force, the nomination process is ran separately from the application for the academies or ROTC. And so the nomination process is going to be through your congresswomen or your senators. And so from the Air Force side of things, the biggest change that we've had is that we're letting candidates go from the pre-candidate stage to the candidate stage without having test scores in. You can submit PSAT scores and your standard GPA and other extracurricular activities, and you'll move on to the candidate phase without having test scores. However, it is expected that if available, you test.
Thank you. And Lieutenant Junior Grade Torsney?
Yes, so the Coast Guard Academy does not require a congressional nomination. Therefore, it has not been affected in any way. You can go ahead and still submit your application online through the Coast Guard Academy website.
And what is the process for the West Point, Colonel LaHood?
To apply for West Point, you have to have a nomination. You can do you can start the application now. It's been open for about a month and a half now. But for your file to be complete, you must have a nomination from either from your representative, your senator, or the vice president.
Thank you. And for the Naval Academy, what is that process, Lieutenant Kim?
So the biggest difference with this application is that we have actually extended the application deadline. So we understand that it is a little more difficult or it has been and may be more difficult to take these standardized tests. So we've extended our deadline by a month. So now, instead of January 31st, we have until February 28th of 2021 to complete your application.
Great. And for Representative Ocasio-Cortez's office, we'll be working with each academy to make sure that our process is in lockstep with each academy's process. Sorry, I missed, did I miss Lieutenant McCann?
Lieutenant McCann here with Kings Point, the United States Merchant Marine Academy. Yes, a nomination is required. It actually gives us, the Academy, the legal authority to give you a full appointment. But with that being said, do not wait to start the nomination process or the application to the Academy. Do both simultaneously. Don't wait for one or the other. And another is we do accept congressional nominations to our Academy, Kings Point, not just from the congressional district that you live in. We accept from any district in New York State if you're a New York resident. And we also accept senator nominations as well.
Nancy from Rep. Meng's office. I'd like to echo what my colleague Mabel said. Our office too will be reviewing our nomination criteria to adjust some of the challenges that COVID has posed for you all.
Ma'am, if I could, just a general statement, I think that everyone would agree with this. Just make sure that you're starting everything early and you're staying on top of your applications and the different paperwork that you're going to be tracking. Due to COVID, everything has been even tenfold more versatile and kind of changing environment. And so making sure that you're staying on top of your taskers is going to be even more important now than ever before.
Yes, thank you so much for that. The next question we have, sorry, Mr. Dinkle, did you have anything to add?
I think that Joyce gave everything that's necessary for that explanation.
Okay. The next question that we have is, what does the interview process consist of and look like? We'll let the service academies start with that question. We'll start with Lieutenant Joyce Kim.
Yeah, so there are two different interviews specifically for the Naval Academy application. Now, the respective congressional offices will run their congressional nomination interviews. But for the Naval Academy, we also have a Blue and Gold officer interview where your Blue and Gold officer, there are our liaisons to the Naval Academy and one of your primary point of contacts to guide you through the entire application process. So they will interview you to ensure that we get a whole person perspective of who you are. Because the Naval Academy Admissions Board reviews your application as a whole person, and we understand that maybe the CFA, the ECAs, and SATs don't give us a whole person view of who you truly are. You guys have personality, talent, and all of that. We want to capture all of that. So that's where your Blue and Gold officer interviews come in to make sure that we truly get a sense of who you are as a person. Now, Mr. Dinkle, I didn't know if you want to add towards that, especially because you conduct the Blue and Gold officer interviews.
Sure, we're looking for somebody really well-rounded. We want somebody who's active in a student government or president of a club that's in your school. We want you to be maybe a leader on a sports team, maybe captain of a team. And we will actually go back and talk to the coaches of those teams to make sure that you were the captain of that team when you say you were. So we want to follow up and make somebody really well-rounded, acceptable to the academy. We don't want just one thing to stand out. We want somebody who is across the board representative, a good candidate.
Thank you so much. Colonel LaHood, do you have anything to add about what the interview process looks like?
Yes, this year the interview process will be online, so it won't be in person. So that will definitely be different. So when you are interviewing, you're going to have to prepare your online skills and be able to look into the camera, speak clearly, not mumble. And like the Naval Academy, we're looking for a rounded person, someone who has strong academics, someone who is an athlete, someone who has demonstrated leadership, and someone who has demonstrated selfless service in some type of volunteerism. So the Academy is looking for not just one thing. And if you're well-rounded, those other areas may support an area that is maybe not as strong as the others.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that. And Second Lieutenant Huda or Lieutenant Brown, what does your interview process look like and consist of during these times?
So like the other service academies hit on, it's really just to get a full perspective. We are switching to virtual, and it's really just a conversation that our ALOs, admission liaison officers, will have with you. And they're just trying to get a feel for who you are, what you enjoy, and really just, like I said, just get that whole person perspective.
It's also important to note that we're looking for depth and not breadth. So we don't want you to be too thinly spread across many different areas. We want you to focus on like one specific area and go pretty far into there. So just like an example would be, you know, a captain of the football team or a president of the class. But we don't want you just to show up to many different meetings just to say that you're there, if that makes sense.
That makes sense. Lieutenant Dang, do you have anything to add, or Lieutenant Sun, to your interview process, and are you involved in the interview process?
Yes, so for Air Force ROTC, if you're applying for the scholarship, you will also go through an interview. It'll be the same thing, kind of similar to the Academy or the Air Force Academy, in which we do look at your whole person concept. The interview carries the most weight in terms of the Air Force ROTC scholarship application. As of now, we are still planning on doing it in person or just based off the school. So if the school's virtual, then you'll most likely do a virtual interview, but it'll be at the detachment at your respective university that you attend.
Like Lieutenant Dang said, the interview is incredibly important. So with the contact on the side in the chat, you'll want to contact your local recruiter and definitely ask for interview tips to help you get through it.
Thank you. And for the Coast Guard, Lieutenant Junior Grade Torsney, what does that look like for the interview process?
Yeah, so Lieutenant Junior Grade Emily Torsney for the Coast Guard Academy. Our interview process is a little bit different than others in that we actually, an admissions officer will reach out to an individual if we decide that we will be interviewing them. To note though, not everyone gets interviews, but that being said, just because you don't get an interview doesn't mean you're out of the running by any means. It's kind of a lottery process the way we do it to try to get as much additional information onto applicants as we can. And it will either be an admissions officer like myself that will conduct the interview, or we have admissions partners who are either currently officers in the fleet, retired officers, or alumni and parents of the academy that will help us in different regions. And so some of it will be potentially virtual, in which case we highly, highly recommend, you dress and act as if you would if it was an in-person interview. And then it's possible to have in-person as well, depending on the circumstances. Once again, we are also a holistic application review in which we're looking at applicants more than just their grades and their test scores, although they're important. We want to know what your extracurriculars and your athletic or musical involvements were during your time in high school. And we want to see that you were consistent so that, you played a sport for all 4 years and you potentially held a leadership position at some point during that time. So those are our primary kind of competitive things that we look at.
Thank you. And for the Merchant Marine, Lieutenant McCann?
Yes, we actually here at the Merchant Marine Academy do not have a formal interview process. There's enough checkpoints within the application. There's a lot of moving parts. So just completing the CFA, the nomination process, the DOBMER process, which is your medical qualification, and all the little things like school official evaluations, essays, those are little check parts. So if you do complete it, that shows a lot of motivation for us. But what I do recommend, since we are very, very selective, is make a connection with your admissions officer, whether that's me or someone else in the office, because we do like to know all of our applicants and make sure they have a true understanding of what it means to go to a federal service academy, because that spot is yours. You as a candidate will drive the process from day one until graduation. This choice is yours. So let us know. And being a different federal service academy, have a flexibility with your service obligation and our curriculum. It is a little bit different since, like just sea year, you'll be out at sea for over a year. And missing life events, possibly like a wedding. So we want to make sure that you're mentally motivated as well. And again, let us know who you are. So if you have my email, shoot me an email.
Thank you. For Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez's office, right now we are leaning towards virtual interviews. We don't know what the world will look like when we conduct them, but we want to emphasize, the health and safety of everyone above all. So we'll share those details as they get confirmed.
Yes, and I'd like to echo the same from Rep. Meng's office. Like I said, we're still evaluating our criteria and how things will look like a few months from now when interviews are supposed to take place. As long as we have all of your emails, which we do, we'll definitely share any important updates on your end so you all are prepared ahead of time. And with that, we're going to move to our next question. And I think this question is for me and Mabel, actually. The person wrote, for our letters of recommendation and our application to get a congressional nomination, can we have our recommenders print the letter out and sign it, or do they need to upload the letter to the office? So I can start with this one. So in the past few years, we've required candidates to print the letter and submit it with their entire application to our district office in Flushing. We're looking to make that a little bit more flexible and possibly do an email submission for the recommender. So we'll definitely let the candidate know via email how we need those letters of recommendation submitted to our office.
For Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez's office, we have an online application. So the letters of recommendation, they can be printed out, signed, and then scanned and uploaded and sent to me or to our nominations email at aoc.nominations@mail.house.gov. Or you can submit them online with your application. So, but feel free to reach out and let me know what the best way is. And our next question is for the Naval Academy and the Merchant Marine. A student wants to know what differentiates the Naval Academy from the Merchant Marine Academy. We'll start with the Naval Academy.
So there are a few key differences, but do note that we are both service academies. The Naval Academy being a little larger, we have about 4,500 midshipmen throughout all 4 years. I believe Lieutenant McCann had mentioned some of the key differences during his introduction about the Merchant Marine Academy, but just to pinpoint a couple, one, the academics or the types of majors that are available are different from the Merchant Marine Academy and the Naval Academy. For us, we have 25 different majors, and it does include humanities majors as well, so you do have a larger selection to choose from. In addition, for our sports, we are a D1 college. So if you want to play competitively at the D1 level, you can do so at the Naval Academy. And then I would say that the opportunities and the experience also, specifically for the Merchant Marine Academy, it will be a little different because at the Naval Academy, you're going to spend all 4 years on our campus grounds. Now, there are different opportunities available purely because of our location in Annapolis, Maryland. We're about 4 hours south from New York City or 30 minutes from both Washington, D.C., as well as Baltimore, Maryland, which means that throughout the summers, there's a lot more internship opportunities available. You can go to D.C. and possibly intern at the White House or the Pentagon, or if you are interested in the medical field, there's Johns Hopkins University in Baltimore, so you can do an internship there. So location is very key. And it allows you guys to really explore and see what interests you and pursue that kind of opportunity when available.
And I'd like to add to Joyce, after graduation, we're not just surface warfare. We have undersea, we have surface, we have aviation, and more astronauts have come out of the Naval Academy than any other academy. So I think there are a few more varied opportunities upon graduation.
Yeah, like Lieutenant Kim mentioned, United States Merchant Marine Academy is very similar. We offer something different. She mentioned location, actually very important in these types of institutions. Kings Point is on the North Shore of Long Island. You actually can see New York City. It's about a 30-minute drive on a good day. We're right across from the Trotsnext Bridge, wherever lives in Queens, right there. And regimental life will actually look a little bit different. United States Merchant Marine Academy, we're actually under the Department of Transportation. We're not a DOD school like the other West Point, Annapolis Air Force. Those are DOD. That means there's little differences there about how you're paid and how active duty versus reservist when you're at the academy. And academics, as I said before, we have 5, all STEM focused. So if you're interested or not interested in engineering, this might not be the best fit, and that's okay. But what I do recommend is learn, get the feeling and the culture of each academy. Just for instance, side note, my background during my undergraduate, I split between Army ROTC at the University of Denver and West Point. And now I'm here at the Merchant Marine Academy. So the culture environment is very important when you do look at these academies.
Great. For our next question, this is for the Naval Academy. The student asks, do we have to record ourselves similar to how it is required for West Point?
So for the Naval Academy's candidate fitness assessment, we do not require a video. Okay, so it's not a requirement.
Colonel LaHood, is that a requirement of the West Point to have a recording?
Yes, it is. It's required for the chin-up or flexed arm hang event, as well as the push-ups. The student, so when you do the CFA, it takes the grader as well as someone who's going to use the student's phone to video it. And then the student uploads that video, and those two events are evaluated by the Department of Military Education. So DP, so they make the judgment on whether the grader actually graded the pull-ups and the push-ups correctly. So I do administer that, and when I administer that test, it passes the inspection.
Thank you. So the next question we have from students are, what are some, that's for all the panelists, what are some tips to have a stronger application? So we'll start with the Air Force with Lieutenant Huda.
So as Lieutenant Brown hit on before, we don't want to see that you have breadth, we want to see that you have depth. So not necessarily that you completed like 10 different courses or anything like that, or partook in 30 different clubs, but more of you are the president of the club, you held some position within the club or team, and that you're building a reputation of having good character and leadership. And so just on that line, same with academics, making sure that you're pushing yourself to do better, you're challenging yourself, and you're also doing good.
Lieutenant Junior Grade Torsney, do you have anything to add about how to have a stronger application?
Absolutely. So I touched on it briefly a little bit earlier, but in terms of, so of course, having a strong GPA and SAT scores or ACT scores, it's hard right now considering the state of the pandemic. And I know that students are challenged to get their test dates in, but signing up for as many test dates and locations as you can, taking them early and often. And then also we're looking for our 3 target courses are chemistry, physics, and calculus or pre-calculus. Those target courses will show us that you will be able to be successful at the academy because you will be introduced to those courses again. So definitely having at least 2 of the 3 is definitely something that we would like to see. As for extracurriculars, we want to see that individuals not only were involved, but kind of similar to what the Air Force was explaining earlier, we want to see that you were able to be consistent in it. So if you had involvement in a club or a sport that you were involved for anywhere from 2 to 4 years, and that you were able to maybe hold a leadership position at some point, whether it's team captain or something of that nature. And then it just once again comes down to, we want to see leadership potential. We want to see that you have good character. Volunteering is also something that we're a humanitarian mission service. So anything that you can do in regards to that as well always adds to it. But that's kind of the baseline breakdown.
Do you have anything to add with the Air Force ROTC, Lieutenant Soon, with how to make it a stronger application? Tips?
Well, we're all looking for the same things. She just touched upon all my buzzwords, just leadership potential and leadership experience, and really having solid examples of how you're a leader in your community, whether it's in school, extracurriculars, and part-time job maybe. When you're doing that interview, like we said earlier, it's the biggest part of our application. And just a side note, if you're applying to any of these academies and you want to apply for ROTC application for any of the branches, a lot of the application questions overlap. And for us personally, there's no essay. And for our fitness test, it's very similar to the CFA. So you can just add a half mile when you're running, or count what it is at the 1 minute mark versus the 2 minute mark for the sit-ups and push-ups. So it's really easy to get both applications in at the same time. And it's just to have the option there in case you get it. And you don't have to take it if you don't end up wanting it. But even if you do get it, you have 1 year to try out this program to see whether or not you like it. And then after that point, you can void your contract and you can go become a regular student at any other school. So it's a great way to just try it out and see if it works for you. And if it doesn't, there's no hard feelings, you can walk away.
Anything to add? Tips for a stronger application?
When you're selecting your classes for this fall, we would like to see you take the hardest classes that your school offers, because there's a wide variance among high schools. So not all schools have, most schools have APs, but honors classes are not necessarily offered. So when we're looking at your transcripts, we want to see that you're taking the hardest, most challenging classes offered at your school.
And I think finally, Merchant Marine, Lieutenant McCann, anything else to add?
Yeah, I'm not going to be too repetitive. Again, overview, just be a lot of quality over breadth, like everyone said. Want to make sure, what we look for, I guess, is your evolution as a high school student. What resources did you have and what you made of it? If you had to take a class over, it's okay, but where did you end up? And then I'm going to say it again, important nomination. There's so many people I want to appoint at the end of the year, but without the nomination, I just can't. So you want to do it on time, and a strong application is also done in a timely manner. Even though our application isn't going to be closed until next year, make an early deadline for yourself. That means a lot, and I see that self-motivation. Make a hypothetical one, January 1st, 2021 as your deadline.
Great, thank you so much, Mabel and our panelists. We are trying to be mindful of time. We have a few minutes left. We're gonna try to get through all the questions you all asked. If we don't, all of the contact information of the panelists are in the chat box, which you all can save, and we'll also send you to all the attendees this information via email so you can ask some follow-up questions or any outstanding questions that were not asked. So for our next question, and this is for all of the panelists, the student asks, is it a good idea to narrow your application to one service academy as opposed to two or multiple? So we can start with Second Lieutenant Huda for this one.
So I would say it's definitely not a bad idea to apply to multiple service academies if that's something that interests you. Obviously, it shows that you have a desire to serve in different capacities, but also realize that if you get in, you're taking someone's spot along with the nominations. If you're nominated to West Point, that's one nomination that they can't offer to someone else that would love to go to West Point. So don't be afraid to apply to multiple service academies, but also realize that, you know, there's it's expected of you that you're going to take and go to that service academy if you get the nomination.
Okay, and Lieutenant Emily Torsley, do you have anything to add on this one?
Hello. So yeah, it's similar to what Lieutenant Huda was explaining. Is definitely, if that's something you want to do, it doesn't help or hurt necessarily applying in our eyes to multiple service academies. But one thing we do look at is we want the students who really want to come to the Coast Guard Academy. So it's fabulous to apply to kind of everything you want to. We want you to find your best fit at the end of the day and to keep your options open. But in our conversations with you, we're going to be able to notice the students who maybe want it that much more. And that's what we're looking for from primarily is the best fit for the Coast Guard Academy.
Okay, thank you so much for your responses. We're going to move on from this question to our final question for our Q&A segment. Again, this is for all the panelists. The student writes, if I receive a nomination, could I send it to multiple service academies such as West Point and Naval? And we can start anywhere. Colonel Lohood, would you like to start us off on this one?
Sure. the student or the applicant does not send the nomination to the academies. The representative's office will send those, or the senator's office will send those to the academies. One part of the interview process, though, you will be asked by the academy rep and also by the nominating source, have you applied to multiple academies? That's going to be a question. And then you're going to be asked to rank order them. What is your first choice? What is your second choice? And remember, leader of character. So if you say to the Naval Academy, the Navy Academy is my first choice, and then you go to the Coast Guard Academy and you say, oh no, the Coast Guard is my first choice, and then you have an integrity issue. So be cognizant of that. You know, honesty is the most important thing we want from our leaders, and that goes for all 5 academies. So you will not send the nomination. It will be the representative's office.
Thank you so much, Colonel LaHood. I really think that covered the question for everyone there. Now we're going to move on to closing remarks, and we're going to start way from the top. So, Lieutenant Huda, can you provide us some closing remarks as we finish the program?
I really appreciate you guys coming in and tuning into this call. Again, like she said, if you guys have any questions, our contact information is out there. Please don't feel afraid to contact us with any questions. There's no such thing as a stupid question, and we'd much rather get it answered early on rather than later into the process. Thank you all again for tuning in, and thank you, staffers, to putting this together.
Lieutenant Torsney?
Hello, everyone. Once again, thank you for having me on today's panel. I appreciate getting the opportunity to talk and share information with all of y'all. Please feel free to contact me, email, and my phone number will be sent out. I am your admissions officer, so I'm your go-to person, and I'm more than happy to schedule a phone call, a virtual meeting, or just answer emails. I encourage everyone to start the conversation early and keep it going. I am here for you to provide the information that you need in navigating your application process and your, just college application experience in general. It's a pretty influential time in your life. So know that I am your go-to person for that. Email and phone number, feel free to use it. And then I also highly, highly, highly recommend logging on to the USCGA website and creating a Bears Den account so that you can get all of the information you need regarding the application or just any events and opportunities that the Coast Guard has for you in helping you make your decision and just learn more.
Thank you so much. Lieutenant Kim?
Yes, thank you so much for having us here today. It was a wonderful opportunity to get to know you guys, talk about the Naval Academy. As an admissions counselor, one of my roles is to guide you through the application process. So over the summer, I host information sessions to break down the application process. So if you guys are still having any questions, maybe not quite sure about how the application process runs or any other congressional nominations related questions, please feel free to reach out to me. The email address has been shared. We'll go ahead and schedule you for one of the information sessions so you know exactly what you need to do for our application process. Now, in addition, Mr. Scott Denkel, he is our area coordinator. He's also there to guide you guys through the application process. So if you guys have any questions, again, we are here to help you guys out. So please reach out to us.
Thank you so much. Lieutenant McCann?
Thank you for everyone taking your time on Monday. And if you are still interested in learning about the Merchant Marine Academy, feel free to reach out. And just a quick note about the nomination process for us and tidbits is you do learn during the application process more about the Academy, and we do expect you to apply to more than one Academy. That's definitely an expectation, and definitely take the application process to learn more about the Academy itself so you can make that decision. And again, we live close. Our campus is still closed, but give me a ring, shoot me an email, and we can make it happen.
Thank you. Second Lieutenant Dang?
Yeah, thanks for having us here. I know, again, we're not really a service academy, but we're still a commissioning source and it's a good alternative. So definitely reach out to the contact information in the chat. It won't be me, it'll be another lieutenant in New York. And if you have any questions, definitely contact them, and then also visit our website at afrotc.com for all the information that you need. And if you don't know who to contact, again, you can also go on that website and then it'll put you in touch with a recruiter as well.
Thank you so much for being here. Second Lieutenant Brown?
I just want to say thank you. Thanks everybody for being here. I hope everybody's staying safe. Just a tidbit, make sure you're actually finishing your application process. Like the Congresswoman said, please, please, please don't self-eliminate. We have around like 10,000 applicants, I want to say, but out of those 10,000, only around 2,500 finish those. So you can greatly improve your chances to be accepted if you actually do finish your application. So I just wanted to throw that out there. But thanks again.
Thank you so much. Colonel LaHood?
I just want to thank both senators, congressmen's offices for having us here and hosting this every year. I do look forward to it. For the applicants, reach out to me. If you're applying to West Point, I will take a look at your application. I will give you advice. And when it comes time, I can do your interview and I can also administer the CFA. So one-stop shop. We'll see how the CFA goes, but I know West Point is going to require them. So how that's going to happen, well, the next few months are going to tell. But thank you all.
Thank you so much, Colonel LaHood. Lieutenant Soon?
Hi, ma'am. Just to reiterate what Lieutenant Dang says, our information is on side. I'm on my way out of this admissions job, but we have a recruiter in New York that will be happy to answer all your questions. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. And last but certainly not least, Officer Dinkle?
Actually, I think Lieutenant Kim summed it up for the Naval Academy well. Just get things done early. You know, any questions, reach out to your blue and gold officer or your admissions liaison. We want to help. We want people who are committed to serving our country and getting a first-rate education at the same time.
Thank you so much. I'm going to turn it back to my colleague, Mabel.
Thank you, everyone. With that, we will be wrapping up our events. Thank you all to the Service Academy representatives for spending your morning with us. Thank you to the attendees for spending your time with us this morning. If you have any outstanding questions or through the process, please reach out to me for Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez's office. My name is Mabel. I think you all have my contact information. And for Congresswoman Meng's office, the contact is Stancy. So no questions, no matter how big or how small, please feel free to reach out. And with that, you have all the contact information for the Service Academy reps in the chat box. But if you will also be sending out a follow-up email with their contact information. So with that, we'll be wrapping it up and saying goodbye for now. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, everyone. We really appreciate it. To all our panelists and attendees, don't hesitate to ask any questions you have to all of us. We're here for you.
Be well, everyone. Take care. Enjoy the rest of the summer.